The calm before the storm. The universe had always seemed quiet to the Galactic Empire. Their ships patrolled the vast stretches of space, their fleets commanding every corner of the galaxy. With the Empire's reach extending across thousands of worlds, peace was guaranteed, but it was peace built on control, fear, and overwhelming power. The Empire ruled with an iron fist, and no one dared to challenge their might. Every species knew their place, and Earth was no exception. Humanity was just another colony, a distant world far from the center of the Empire's interest. Its people were seen as simple, primitive even, caught in their own struggles, far from the great wars and schemes of the galaxy's rulers. Yet, beneath the surface of Earth's quiet civilization, something was stirring. The humans had never truly been weak, but their strength had always been hidden, unknown to even their closest allies. For centuries, Earth's leaders had kept a secret that not even the most powerful alien races knew. It was a secret that would now come to haunt the Empire in a way they could never have anticipated. The first sign came when the Empire's scouts detected an anomaly near Earth's outer rim. It was faint, a blip on the radar, something that seemed so insignificant that they almost ignored it. But curiosity, always the trait of the Empire's ambitious commanders, pushed them to send a probe, just to make sure it wasn't a malfunction or a cosmic fluke. The probe was meant to be a simple task, a routine check of nothing more than a small disturbance in space. No one could have predicted what would happen next. When the Empire's probe entered the anomaly, it vanished. No warning, no signal, just gone. At first, the Empire assumed it was an accident, a malfunction in their equipment, but the anomaly remained, and the reports were clear. Something had happened to their probe, something that didn't just disrupt its trajectory, but erased it entirely from existence. Now, suspicion grew within the Empire. What was out there, near Earth? The Empire's analysts pored over every scrap of data they could find. Some suggested it could be a new form of weapon or a natural phenomenon, but nothing in their knowledge matched the disturbance. One commander, eager for glory and eager to prove his rank, pushed for an expedition to Earth's colonies, insisting that the Empire could quickly deal with whatever might be lurking there. But as the commander set his course for Earth, no one expected the full scale of what they were about to face. On Earth, life continued as normal, at least on the surface. Humanity went about their daily lives, farming, building, and exploring their world, unaware of the silent threat approaching. The Earth's colonies were growing at a slow but steady pace, hidden far from the Empire's gaze. But this peaceful image masked a much deeper truth. The truth that Earth, under the surface, was a world unlike any other in the galaxy. The people of Earth had been biding their time, honing something ancient, something dangerous, something that the galaxy had long since forgotten. As the Empire's fleet neared Earth's outer atmosphere, the first wave of scouts was already in position. They moved quietly, expecting nothing more than to confirm that the Earth colonies were no different from any other under the Empire's rule. They had no reason to think Earth could be anything more than a distant, insignificant world. Then they reached the anomaly. The scouts, upon arriving, immediately realized something was wrong. Their sensors went haywire. The system flickered in and out, and the very fabric of space around them seemed to pulse with a strange energy. It was subtle, like a whisper in the wind. If you weren't paying attention, you would have missed it. But the scouts felt it. The pulse was growing stronger. Whatever was there, it wasn't natural. They sent out a distress signal. The Empire's ships, still millions of miles away, could only receive static. No one on board the scouts could explain what was happening. The anomaly was alive, it was aware of them, and it was drawing them closer. The ships tried to retreat, but the anomaly seemed to be pulling them in, like a great cosmic hand, forcing them to go deeper into the unknown. And then, without warning, it happened. One by one, the scouts vanished from the radar, just like the first probe. No explosion, no debris, no remains. The Empire was now faced with the terrifying reality that something on Earth was capable of destroying their most advanced ships with nothing more than a pulse of energy. Back in the Empire's command center, panic began to spread. The Empire had never experienced anything like this. There were rumors, whispers of ancient weapons, of forgotten wars. But these were just stories, myth. They couldn't be real, could they? But the facts were clear. Something on Earth had defeated their most advanced ships, something they could not explain, something they hadn't even known existed. As the Empire scrambled to gather their forces, they failed to realize just how far Earth had already advanced. They failed to realize that Earth had been preparing for this moment for centuries. For while the Empire believed that they ruled the universe, humanity had been silently waiting for the day when they would be tested, waiting for the day when they would reveal what they were truly capable of. And now, that day had come. As the Empire prepared for war, they had no idea that they had just awakened something far more dangerous than anything they had ever imagined. The calm before the storm had ended, and a force greater than anything the galaxy had ever seen was about to rise from the depths of Earth itself. The Empire had underestimated Earth, just as they had underestimated humanity. They had sent their scouts, confident that their advanced technology and overwhelming might would easily crush any opposition. But now, with their ships disappearing into the void, swallowed whole by the unknown, their arrogance was beginning to crumble. The Empire's leaders were scrambling to understand what had happened, but they could not grasp the magnitude of the threat they were facing. On Earth, the people continued to go about their lives, unaware of the silent storm brewing in the galaxy above them. In the heart of Earth's major cities, life seemed as normal as ever. The world was a busy place. People worked, socialized, and lived their lives. However, hidden beneath the surface, in the shadows of Earth's greatest cities and isolated military bases, a network of ancient secrets had been quietly building. The strange energy that had destroyed the Empire's scouts was no accident. It was no anomaly either. It was a force that had been nurtured, developed, and perfected by humans for centuries. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for much longer than the Empire could have imagined. The deep, forgotten history, hidden within the catacombs of Earth's oldest civilizations, had been slowly uncovered and honed into something unimaginable. Earth's true power was not in its weapons or its ships. It was in the Leviathan. The Leviathan was not a single entity, but a network, a force of nature that had been built piece by piece. From the depths of the oceans to the farthest reaches of space, humanity had harnessed the most ancient powers of the planet and combined them with their unmatched ingenuity. The Leviathan wasn't just a weapon. It was the culmination of everything that humanity had ever been, forged into a tool that could level worlds. But it was more than just a weapon of destruction. It was a reminder. A reminder to the galaxy that Earth was not a planet to be ignored. A reminder that the humans, for all their seeming weakness, had a hidden power that no one had dared to challenge. And now, it was waking. Back in the Empire's command center, the realization began to settle in like a cold, creeping fear. They could not understand what had happened to their fleets, and every attempt to send reinforcements to Earth had failed. The anomaly remained, a vast, empty void, and as the days passed, the truth slowly emerged. The energy pulse that had erased their ships came from Earth itself. Something on that distant planet had triggered it, something that wasn't supposed to exist. "Do we continue sending ships?" a commander asked, his voice full of uncertainty. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. "We have no choice," one of them finally said. "We can't let this go unanswered. We need to crush Earth before whatever this is gets out of control." But the more the Empire pushed forward, the more it became apparent that they were dealing with something far beyond their understanding. Every attempt to enter Earth's orbit was met with resistance. Invisible forces blocked their ships, and any vessels that came too close were torn apart by the same mysterious energy pulse that had destroyed their scouts. It wasn't just a defensive shield. It was a trap, and the more the Empire tried to breach it, the deeper they sank into the unknown. Meanwhile, humanity, under the radar of the Empire's watchful eye, had begun to organize. Earth's greatest minds, its most brilliant scientists, and its most powerful leaders had come together, united by the singular purpose of defending their world. They had known that this day would come. They had prepared for this moment, when the Empire would come knocking, expecting to crush them. What the Empire didn't know was that humanity had learned much from the stars. For centuries, Earth's greatest minds had studied the cosmos, piecing together ancient knowledge, studying alien technology, and mastering the very forces of nature that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. They had developed their own ships, their own weapons, and most importantly, they had harnessed the Leviathan. The energy pulse that had destroyed the Empire's ships was only a small part of what the Leviathan was capable of. It was only the beginning. As the Empire's ships continued to circle the Earth, trapped in the invisible web of energy that surrounded the planet, humanity's resolve hardened. They would not back down. The Leviathan would rise, and the Empire would soon learn the terrible truth. Earth was no longer the helpless, primitive planet it once had been. They had been preparing for this moment for millennia. And now, the storm was coming. The Empire would have to face the full fury of humanity's greatest weapon, something that no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. The command center on Earth was quiet now. The leaders of Earth's resistance were waiting. They had already begun the process of unlocking the full potential of the Leviathan. There was no turning back. The Empire had made its mistake. They had thought humanity weak, but now they were about to discover the horrifying truth. Humanity had been built for war, and they were ready. As the final preparations were made on Earth, the tension in the galaxy grew. The Empire, which had once ruled the stars with an iron fist, was now facing an opponent they never anticipated: humanity. The truth about the Leviathan was slowly being revealed to the leaders of the Empire, and what they learned terrified them beyond measure. This wasn't just another primitive species they could easily subdue. Humanity was unlike anything they had encountered before. On Earth, the hidden network of power was coming to life. For centuries, humanity had built and refined the Leviathan in secret. It was no ordinary weapon. It was a culmination of Earth's most ancient energies, mixed with the latest technological advancements. The Leviathan was both organic and artificial, a hybrid born from the depths of Earth's oceans and the vast expanse of space. Its true power was something the Empire could never have predicted. It had been designed to protect Earth from threats far greater than what the galaxy had to offer, and now it was ready to unleash its fury. As the Empire's remaining fleets attempted to regroup and assess their next move, Earth's defense systems had been activated. Across the planet, vast, hidden facilities began to hum with energy, their dormant systems springing to life. Deep beneath the oceans, hidden underground, and in the skies above, Earth's last line of defense, built over generations, was finally awakening. The Leviathan was no myth, no fairy tale. It was real, and it was about to make itself known. At the heart of Earth's military command, the leaders stood in silence. They had watched as the Empire's forces fell one by one, unable to even understand what had been attacking them. Now, they knew that humanity was the last barrier between the galaxy and the terrifying forces that lay beneath Earth's surface. The Empire had underestimated them for too long. It was time to show the universe what humans were truly capable of. In the depths of the ocean, the Leviathan stirred. Massive tendrils of energy pulsed through the water, creating massive whirlpools that sent shockwaves through the oceans. Ships that ventured too close were torn apart, their hulls shredded by invisible forces. The Leviathan wasn't a single beast, it was a network, a system of energy pulses, sentient machinery, and cosmic energy drawn from Earth's core. It was both an entity and a force of nature, and it was ready to defend its home at all costs. Across Earth, the cities began to rumble as energy levels surged. Earth's greatest minds had worked tirelessly to unlock the full potential of the Leviathan, and now their efforts were paying off. The signal was clear. The Leviathan was active, and it had begun its journey across the planet. Earth was no longer under threat from the Empire's forces. It was the Empire itself that now stood in peril. The Empire, with all its advanced technology and vast armadas, had been caught completely off guard. They had thought humanity weak, primitive even. They had believed their overwhelming power would crush the humans without resistance. But now, as Earth's Leviathan rose from its long slumber, the Empire's fleets were in disarray, and their forces scattered across the galaxy in a desperate attempt to regroup. On the Empire's flagship, the command deck was eerily quiet. Officers and commanders stared at the holographic displays in disbelief. The warships, the pride of their entire fleet, had been destroyed by an unknown force. Something they could not explain, something they could not fight. The energy signatures coming from Earth were unlike anything they had encountered before. It was as if the very planet had come alive, and it was angry. The Empire's leadership had no idea how to respond. They had relied on their superior firepower, their advanced technologies, and their overwhelming numbers. But none of that mattered now. They had underestimated the strength of a species they believed to be insignificant. Now Earth's defenses were waking up, and the true power of humanity was about to be revealed. Deep in the heart of Earth's most secure facilities, scientists and military leaders watched as the Leviathan reached its full potential. They knew what was coming. The Leviathan wasn't just Earth's last line of defense. It was an answer. An answer to the question of what happens when a species is pushed too far. Humanity had been in the shadows for too long, content with their lives and their world. But now, they had been awakened. The galaxy was about to find out why humanity had been designed for war. They had thought they ruled the universe, but they had failed to see the storm brewing on a distant planet. Now, the Leviathan was ready, and Earth was no longer an insignificant speck in the cosmos. Humanity's greatest weapon had risen from the depths, and it was preparing to show the universe what true power looked like. As the Empire's commanders scrambled to understand the situation, a new message was broadcast across their fleet. It was simple, direct, and filled with a warning that the galaxy had never heard before. We are humanity. We have been preparing for this moment, and you have just awakened our fury. The Leviathan was awake, and the universe would never be the same again. The galaxy was on the brink of chaos, and the Empire was finally beginning to grasp the enormity of the situation. Their once unchallenged reign over the stars had been shattered in a matter of days, and they still had no true understanding of the force that was now rising from Earth. What they had thought to be a peaceful, primitive planet was, in fact, the cradle of an unimaginable power, an ancient, primal force ready to unleash its fury. Earth was no longer just another colony. It was now a force that could reshape the entire galaxy. The first sign of the Leviathan's power came when Earth's outer defense grid activated. An unearthly hum filled the atmosphere, followed by a series of pulses that rippled outward, hitting every corner of the galaxy. The pulses weren't just energy. They were signals, warnings, and declarations of what was to come. The Empire's fleets, still recovering from the devastating attacks on their forces, now had to contend with something far worse than they could have imagined. Earth's defenses weren't just terrestrial. They spanned across space itself. The military leadership of the Empire quickly mobilized their remaining forces. They scrambled to create new strategies, to come up with any solution that might save them. But no matter how advanced their technologies were, nothing could counter the overwhelming force that Earth had just unleashed. The Leviathan wasn't just a weapon. It was an entire ecosystem of destruction, an entity that blended nature, technology, and energy. It was alive, and it was not about to let the Empire harm Earth again. In the heart of Earth's command center, a small team of scientists and generals watched in silence as the next phase of the Leviathan's awakening unfolded. Satellites had begun to pick up massive gravitational disturbances, and the ocean was swirling with activity. The Leviathan was no longer confined to the planet's depths. It was emerging, its massive, organic form taking shape in the sky above Earth's oceans. Energy pulses that were invisible to the naked eye were now detectable, creating ripples in space-time itself. It was as though the fabric of the universe was bending to the will of Earth's forgotten protector. The generals were filled with a mixture of awe and fear. They had spent years, even decades, ensuring that the Leviathan's power was used only when necessary. But now, faced with the threat of the Empire's destruction, they knew that this moment had arrived. The Leviathan was not just a defense system. It was humanity's answer to the galactic tyranny that had reigned for so long. The question now was whether the universe was ready for what Earth had built in secret. While the generals prepared for the worst, across the galaxy, the Empire's commanders were scrambling to make sense of the Leviathan. They had tried to study Earth's movements for years, but they had never anticipated anything like this. They had dismissed the human race as weak and insignificant, but now they were faced with a nightmare they couldn't escape. The Leviathan's energy blasts, once confined to Earth's atmosphere, had now become visible to the Empire's scanners. They weren't just blasts of energy. They were pulse waves that reverberated through the very core of space itself. When the first wave hit an Empire cruiser, it didn't simply destroy it. It bent space around it, folding reality itself before the ship was reduced to nothing more than cosmic dust. The survivors aboard the fleet could only watch in horror as the same fate was met by one of their largest ships, and then another. The power that humanity had unleashed was unlike anything they had encountered before. Now, with the full force of Earth's fury bearing down on them, the Empire had no choice but to retreat. Their once mighty Armada was being torn apart, one ship at a time. There were no safe havens, no corner of the galaxy that could protect them. The Leviathan was everywhere, its tendrils stretching out across the cosmos like a living, breathing weapon, ready to strike at any who dared oppose Earth. Back on Earth, the leaders knew that the next phase of the war was about to begin. Humanity had shown the galaxy its teeth, but now it was time to show them the claws. The Leviathan was only the beginning. In hidden bases across the planet, humans were preparing even more devastating weapons, some that had been designed long ago, others that had been adapted from the alien technology they had scavenged from fallen invaders. The war had just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The command center on Earth hummed with activity as the military prepared to launch the next wave of attacks. The galaxy was now on notice. Humanity was no longer a subject of the Empire. They were no longer just a colony to be controlled. They were the galaxy's greatest threat, and the universe had just discovered how deadly humans could be when pushed to the edge. The Empire's leadership, once confident in their victory, now understood the magnitude of their miscalculation. Earth wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their place in the universe, and they would do whatever it took to make sure that no one, not even the most powerful empire in the galaxy, could ever again think they could rule over humanity. The storm had come, and it was not about to stop until Earth had claimed its victory. The Leviathan's fury was just the beginning. The Empire would learn the hard way that underestimating humanity was a mistake they would regret for the rest of time. The galaxy trembled. The once mighty Empire, whose power had spread across star systems for millennia, was now on the edge of complete annihilation. The unimaginable force that Earth had unleashed, a force they had underestimated, was tearing through their fleets and their hopes of domination. The Empire's commanders, once so confident in their superiority, now faced the reality of their own defeat. Earth was no longer a planet to conquer. It was a force of nature they could neither defeat nor escape. The final blow came unexpectedly, as the Empire's fleet was forced into a desperate last stand. In a final attempt to retaliate, the Empire's remaining forces rallied together, creating a massive armada, hoping that their combined strength could overpower the Leviathan and put an end to Earth's terrifying reign. But they were too late. The Leviathan, now fully awakened, was more than just a weapon. It was an extension of Earth's will, and it knew only one thing: to defend humanity, no matter the cost. Above Earth's atmosphere, the Leviathan's massive form loomed, casting an ominous shadow across the battlefield. Its enormous tendrils, each capable of destroying entire fleets, lashed out with precision, hitting ship after ship. No matter how advanced the Empire's technology, it was no match for the raw, primal power of Earth's protector. The Armada, once so mighty, was now reduced to nothing more than floating debris scattered across the stars. Each ship was annihilated with a single devastating pulse from the Leviathan, and the survivors had no place to run. Meanwhile, on Earth, the leaders watched in awe and horror as their enemy ships were torn apart. The military command center was buzzing with activity, yet there was an eerie silence in the air. Humanity had won the battle, but at what cost? The Leviathan's power had come at a price, and no one knew what would happen next. Would the Leviathan, having completed its purpose, return to the depths of the ocean, leaving Earth vulnerable once more? Or would it remain, a constant reminder of the untapped power that Earth could wield? The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Empire's fall did not mean the end of the conflict. Across the galaxy, there were other empires, other factions who would not let their defeat go unanswered. They would come. They would seek revenge for the destruction of their comrades, for the loss of their ships, and for the humiliation of seeing Earth, once thought of as insignificant, rise to become the most powerful force in the universe. But humanity, now aware of the strength they possessed, was not afraid. They had tasted victory, and they knew they could not go back to being passive. The Leviathan had shown them what they were capable of, and the galaxy would soon learn that they were not the only weapon Earth had at its disposal. Humanity was no longer a subject in a galactic empire. They had become the rulers of their own fate, and they were not going to let anyone take that away. As Earth's military forces began to mobilize for what they knew would be an inevitable wave of retaliation, they prepared not just to defend their home, but to expand their influence across the galaxy. The defeat of the Empire was only the beginning. Humanity had proven its power, but now it was time to assert their place in the stars. The war was far from over, and soon, the rest of the galaxy would understand the true cost of underestimating Earth's potential. As the last remnants of the Empire's fleet burned in the sky, humanity stood tall, ready for whatever challenges the galaxy would throw at them. Earth's Leviathan had delivered a devastating blow, but humanity's true power was only beginning to reveal itself. The universe had made a grave mistake when it decided to challenge Earth, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The stars no longer belonged to the Empire. They belonged to Earth, and no one would ever forget the day humanity's fury reshaped the galaxy.